Looking at FilmRiot Mondays, you might have noticed that there was no episode for last week on Thursday. That's because some personal stuff came up. Life happens sometimes, and it just kept us from being able to put out an episode. It was a last-minute thing, too, so we didn't have a ton of time to let you guys know. But we're back to normal this week, so let's get to some questions. First question, I miss some of the old DIY builds you guys used to do. I'm happy you guys have grown so you no longer need the no-low budget equipment, but it'd be nice to see those make a return. We have not abandoned the no-low budget or DIY. In fact, we've shown quite a bit of it last year, on and off, fluctuating between things like we always will. There was a few episodes even where we show an expensive version and a low-cost version, and we did show some of the DIY stuff that we still use to this day, including the bounces that we make ourselves. And we're gonna get into a lot more of that. There's a lot of stuff around our studio that we just make ourselves. And in fact, on larger budget productions that I've been on sets that I've been on, I've seen the crew building things on set, doing DIY stuff on set, because sometimes you don't have the tool, you have to make the tool, and that's the best way to go about it. So that DIY transcends budget. It doesn't matter if you have no budget or millions of dollars, that's always going to happen. But we're definitely gonna get back into DIY and no low budget stuff, including lower budget cameras. I'm a generalist. I do a little bit of everything on set. I'd like to just focus on being a DP, but the demands on set are huge for me. How do you go from being the everything guy to a specialist? That's a very simple answer of you just need a crew. You need to bring in people that can do all of the things that you're currently doing so you can focus in on just DP work. But as far as being an everything man, I'm pretty used to doing that. I've done that my entire career. There's only been a few productions where I've been able to just focus in on a couple of things, not even one thing. I don't think I've ever had a production where I'm just focusing on one thing and one thing alone. I'm always doing at least 2, maybe 3 jobs at once, just because that's the nature of low, no budget, independent type filmmaking. But you just need to go out and find people that you can trust that are gonna do the job the way you want it done, that can take those things off your plate so you can focus in on just the one that you're wanting to. Is it normal to dislike a project once you've completed it? Am I weird for heavily picking apart my projects after they're finished? I hate it, but still love it. What does it all mean, Ryan? That is the most normal thing on the planet. Not only do I hate everything that I make, I mean, I could be proud of it and I could step back and be proud of everyone who is involved in the work that they put into it, especially when you have more people doing stuff like our Bloodtober stuff. I could step back and look at the gorgeous visuals that Ryan Booth and Chris Adams and John Carrington were able to help me bring together, and the great performances we had in there. So I'm able to love the stuff that the other people did, but the things that I had control over, you just pick apart and you hate it and you feel like a hack. And this is the one where everybody's gonna think you suck. And usually the worst time of that for me is after we're done shooting and when I start editing. Once I start cutting it and we get to a first rough cut, that's usually when I start to panic and I'm like, what have I done? This is horrible. I'm the worst filmmaker ever. But then you just keep hacking away at it, and slowly but surely it starts to take shape and you're like, it's not so bad after all. But it's also something, especially if you wrote it, you directed it, and you're editing it, like a lot of us do, it's something that you've lived with from the initial seed of an idea into what you're working on now. So it's so ingrained in your brain on what it is. You've seen it over and over and over in your head, and then while you're shooting it, and now that you're editing it, that it's hard to pull yourself back and know if this thing is objectively good or not. So that's why it's really good to bring other people in that you trust, that can watch it and help you realize if this thing sucks or not. Dearest Ryan, I love watching your show and all that you guys do. My question is, when you feel like you can't find inspiration, what do you usually do to get out of that funk, if ever at all? I don't have time to be in a funk. I think that's what it is. I've been really lucky to always have a deadline. It's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because we basically have no free time whatsoever and we're working pretty much 24/7. But there's always some kind of hard deadline put on me due to, the schedule of the show, due to sponsors that we have, due to the fact that we've already announced what a release date's gonna be. So we always have a hard and fast sort of deadline. Or if I want to do a project and I know the only time I could do the project is at this point, I know that I have to have a script, I have to have an idea of something that we can do by this time, because this is the only time we're going to be able to shoot, because all the schedules are lining up and what have you. So I think having that imposed deadline kind of gets you out of that funk, because you don't have a choice. I think sort of writer's blocks or any kind of a creative block is just insecurity. It's just the fact that we're all insecure in what we're doing. It's the fact that we're worried that once we start, we might make something that sucks. So getting something that forces you to just start anyway, to get past that anyway, is a great way to cutting off that writer's block, because I really think that block is no more than insecurity. Last question, these days with cameras like the Sony a7S and its very good low light capabilities, do you think it hurts the DP's role? With everything looking well lit with these cameras, people think that there's no need to add more lighting, making everybody's work look good, but with no actual DP work involved in the production. I think that couldn't possibly be farther from the truth. I don't think a light in the room is what makes a great DP. I think a great DP is somebody who knows how to frame a shot, who knows what to put in the frame of their shot, who knows how to block it, how to move the camera, how to expose for it, where to put the key light. Just because there's natural lights in the room doesn't mean that wherever they are, it's just gonna look good. Where are you gonna put that natural light? Okay, you're outside, but where are you putting the sun when you're looking at your character? That's where a DP's role comes in. There's a lot involved in what makes a gorgeous image, and if you give somebody like Bradford Young an A7S and somebody brand new to cinematography an A7S and no lighting whatsoever, Bradford Young stuff is gonna look out of control gorgeous, and this guy's stuff is gonna look like somebody who's just starting out. It's not the lights alone that add the talent. That's like saying it's only the paintbrush that makes a good painter. That's just not the case. If you're a budding filmmaker, entrepreneur, innovator, domain.com is the place to go when that next idea hits you. When you buy a domain name from domain.com, you're taking the first step in creating an identity and vision for your brand or idea. No domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. They're the world's 2 top leading, premier, most recognizable domain extensions, which will help you build your brand and expand your presence online. Domain.com is reliable, affordable, and easy to use. And to show you some love, they're giving you 25% off their already affordable prices when you get domain names, web hosting, and email. Just use the coupon code FilmRiot at domain.com's checkout, and when you think domain names, think domain.com.
Logos.
That's it for today, which means it's time for my suggestion of the week. This one is a short from my friend Joe Simon called Everything Has a Feeling. You can find it on Vimeo right here. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. He did a fantastic job with this, so definitely check that out. And until next week, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.